Now, there's a good chance that when you think of a large, full-size American sedan, Buick immediately comes to mind. I mean, let's be honest, the company's been producing a vehicle like that for God knows how many years now. So there's an all-new version that was just introduced for 2017, and this week I'm testing the fully redesigned third generation model. Is it any good? Let's take a look and find out. So the Lacrosse name first came to the US back in 2005. It was a replacement for the very old at the time Century and Regal. And when Buick first introduced the Lacrosse, it was marketed more as a mid-size sedan because of the somewhat cramped interior proportions, especially when you compare it to the overall dimensions. Now, when Buick redesigned the Lacrosse in 2010 with the second generation, it got a lot more interior space, which finally put it in the heart of the full-size sedan class. Now, this all-new 2017 that I'm showing you represents the third generation, and when you compare it to the previous second generation, which sold pretty well for Buick, the company consistently moved over 50,000 units every year, this new one is slightly longer in the wheelbase, in the overall length, slightly wider, and a little bit lower, and it gives the Lacrosse a much more cohesive and premium look, especially from the front. I see a lot of design influence from a Mercedes and possibly even the Sonata. It's a very nice contemporary look, especially with these standard bi-xenon headlights. My tester being the premium model has the adaptive function and LED daytime running lights, which do come standard on all the trims. Speaking of which, you can choose between 4 different trims. Obviously, I've got the top of the line model, and it just sports off Buick's all-new grille. It's a double-winged waterfall style grille with the new tri-shield colored insignia right in the center, and it's a very elegant design. I think it'll age extremely well for this car. Now, coming around the side, these 20-inch wheels are a $1,600 option on my tester. They look fantastic, they fill out the wheel wells nicely, and the vehicle still rides extremely well, but we'll go into the test drive later on. Now, when we come to the rear of the all-new Lacrosse, this is where I have my issue with it. I don't think it particularly matches the elegance of the front. I think it looks rather frumpy. It looks like GM may have just kind of not had a team that really thought about how good looking the front looked, and now the back just looks a little bit weird. It just looks a little bit old, bulbous, and I don't like the fact that the taillights are not LEDs, especially when you have LED turn signals in the front. I just think that Buick could have done a better job with the rear end design. You do have these dual exhaust tips, which do add a nice sportier touch, which, speaking of which, this all-new Lacrosse rides on a completely new platform, moving on from the Epsilon 2 platform. It's actually going to be the basis of a redesigned Impala when that comes to market, and as a result, Buick was able to reduce the weight by 300 pounds for this new generation, so they're promising better fuel economy, better performance, and better handling. But we'll go into the test drive later on. We'll talk about that, but let's take a look at the inside and see all the changes that Buick has made for this new model year. Now, every Lacrosse will come standard with Buick's smart key access system with remote start and push button start. This is the new key fob. I like the slim design of the key fob. It looks particularly nice. Now, to activate the remote start, all you have to do is push the lock button and then push and hold this button, and the vehicle automatically starts right up for you. Now, to unlock the door, all you have to do is actually touch the finger here. Or touch the button here. There's no sensor on the back of the door handle. Kind of annoying, but it's a little extra step, and that unlocks the door for you. Now, looking at the interior of the all-new Lacrosse, you can see it's a very standard-looking interior for Buick, very traditional GM in its design. Those of you who are at home with the latest GM vehicles, you'll find this extremely pleasing. You'll pretty much feel instantly at home when you get in the vehicle. Now, stepping inside, you can see the step-in height is nice and low, and you have a pretty nice view of the road. And shutting the door, The door sounds pretty solid. I mean, I expect no less. This is an all-new platform. It's going to be the basis of the new Impala and a few other GM products when it comes out, or when those vehicles come out. Now, to get it out of the remote start mode, all you have to do is put your foot on the brake, make sure the key is in the vehicle, and then push this oddly shaped button here that likes to hide behind the steering wheel to get it out of the remote start mode. Now you can see the gauges do a pretty cool sweep, and this version has kind of like an up-level instrumentation, which has the screen. It's very similar to that GMC Acadia Denali that I showed you with the big LCD in the center, especially for the speedometer. You have a traditional analog for the tach and your fuel gauge, and a little bit more gauges in the LCD screen. And overall, the interior design, it's elegant. I mean, it's definitely improved versus the previous generation. I really like the use of stitching that Buick is using here, especially right here in the lower parts of the dash. It's soft leather. You have some padded soft touch areas on the upper part, but the stitching here is not genuine leather like it is down here. But I mean, overall, everything in here fits relatively well, but some of the buttons in here I'm not particularly a fan of. They just have this cheap rubberized plastic feel, and they just don't have that kind of fluidity you expect in a vehicle that's supposed to be more of a luxury car. Now looking at the door panel here, it's nice and soft touch with more of that stitching. You have this fake wood trim with some silver aluminum look trim, and then it's padded down here in the armrest portion. The window is one touch automatic for the front, not the rear. I kind of wish Buick did both, especially since this is their flagship. The steering wheel, I'm not particularly a fan of. I think it's just a really ugly looking steering wheel. I do like how it's a 4-spoke design. The steering wheel is heated, which is definitely very nice, and you do have new paddle shifters here for the 8-speed automatic. We'll go into the test drive later on. The center stack here shows off the latest 8-inch IntelliLink infotainment system. It does come standard with the 8-inch. Navigation is optional. You do get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. That is standard equipment on every Lacrosse, so that's a very nice feature to have. When you put the vehicle into reverse, you get a nice backup camera with rear parking sensors and trajectory and distance markers. That's standard on all models as well. Now coming back to the home screen here, let's take a look at the map display. This is the latest Buick infotainment system with traditional map graphics. They work okay. It's not quite as nice as the Cadillac system, but again, this is a Buick. It's supposed to be a step down. Looking at the glove compartment here, it's a nice size. It's lined with felt. It's damped. The seats are extremely comfortable. They come with a massage function for the front seats. There's a little button that you push that activates a massage that pushes the lumbar in and out. This big panoramic sunroof is a very nice option. $1,500 extra. I highly recommend it. Now, let's talk about this shifter really quick. It's the same shifter from the Cadillac XT5. It's kind of like a BMW. To put it in park, you push this button here. To put it in drive, you have to push this button here, pull all the way back. And then for reverse, you have to go all the way to the left here. I think it's a little finicky and complicated. If you're in a rush, there are times where the shifter didn't go into the gear that I wanted it to. It's just going to take some time to get used to it. Looking at the center console here, you can see there's pretty good storage. You have your 2 USB ports in there, a power outlet, and then my tester has a wireless charger here for your phone that's compatible. Unfortunately, I've got an iPhone, which it's not, but overall, I think the interior definitely looks nice. I think the head unit is nice and upgraded. The touch response is also pretty good. But overall, it's not going to win any design awards for being the sportiest, the most luxurious, but it's a pretty pleasant place to spend time, and you have plenty of room in here to stretch out, along with a very nice heads-up display that you get on this particular top trim. The back seat of the all-new Lacrosse is also a huge environment. This is a full-size sedan, and it really shows in the back seat. Plenty of legroom. Stepping back here, you can see that's where I have the seat to drive, and I can just stretch my legs out. There's not very good foot space underneath here, surprisingly, but Buick does give you an actual household power outlet there, another 12-volt there. You have rear seat vents. One thing I am missing is heated rear seats. I'm surprised the company didn't include it on this top trim model, and any additional like power or manual retractable sunshades. But when you shut the door, the materials are also high quality, leather stitching throughout. You get dual map pockets here. The seats, they're also 60/40 fold down with a nice armrest here and a little bit more storage for your backseat passengers. Now, Buick does not offer a power opening trunk feature like some of its competitors, but when you do look at the trunk, it's pretty huge. The numbers are actually only 15 cubic feet, but I mean, you can see the opening is large, the trunk's nice and deep. When you look underneath this floor, you can see there is a temporary spare tire, so at least Buick doesn't give you a fix-a-flat kit like some of its competitors. underneath the hood of this all-new Lacrosse, you're looking at a new engine. Now, even though the displacement's not all new, it's still a 3.6 liter direct injection V6 with variable valve timing, double overhead cam. It actually makes a little bit more power this year. It makes about 310 horsepower, about 7 more than the old one, or 6 more, and about 282 pound-feet of torque. That's nearly 20 more. This is basically the same V6 you get in the Cadillac XT5. You also get a new transmission. It's the new 8-speed automatic with that new gear shifter with the paddle shifters, and combine that with a 300-pound weight reduction, and fuel economy is much improved for this version. It's now rated at 21 in the city, 31 on the highway. There's a time where 4 cylinders would get that kind of efficiency, and this is a big full-size family sedan. Now, this particular one that I'm showing you is front-wheel drive. It does come with automatic start-stop, which is one of the most seamless systems I've ever used. We'll go into the test drive later on. You can get available all-wheel drive. It drops the MPG by like 1, and because of the weight reduction, this vehicle weighs like around 3,600 pounds, which is the same as a lot of mid-size family sedans. So let's get out on the road and see how it all works together, shall we? So big full-size sedans like this typically are not my vehicle of choice. I just find them to be incredibly boring to drive, but again, it's not a bad thing. It's just I prefer vehicles to be a little bit more sportier, but if you want comfort, this is definitely the right class for you. Now, I had a lot of time in the old Lacrosse. It was very popular with rental fleets, and GM made pretty extensive updates to the car in 2014, giving it new styling, new features, new safety tech, and this all new one doesn't look entirely new when you see it from the front. However, when you start to actually, look at the entire design, you can really see all the changes Buick made, and it's really a lot of good changes. So let's take a look and see everything the company has done, especially when it comes to the driving dynamics. Now this year, a V6 is the only available engine. The old Lacrosse offered like a hybrid and a 4-cylinder. And it's a pretty good V6. This is the same 3.6 from the XT5, direct injection. It's a new family of high-feature V6 engines, and it makes pretty good power, a decent noise. The torque is still a little bit lighter feeling because this is naturally aspirated. But the 8-speed automatic that is new this year is definitely a great partner for this engine. It keeps it right in the meat of its power band. It's really quick, smooth shifts. This is basically what you expect for a full-size sedan like this. It's just an effortless drive. You never really feel the want for more power. Now, one thing I'm immediately noticing is just how well this car rides and how quiet it is. I mean, these 20-inch wheels are massive, but the ride's not affected. This is one of the most comfortable rides I've ever experienced on a vehicle with 20-inch wheels. Usually you put fatter wheels on the car with low profile tires and it just has a kind of a jarring, stiff ride. And that's really not the case with this all-new Lacrosse. Now, one thing that really impresses me about this car is the all-new start-stop function. It's really imperceptible. One of the most smoothest transitions I've ever experienced. Right now the engine's off. As soon as you lift off the brake, it starts right up so seamlessly. Okay, and because my model is front-wheel drive, you heard there's a little bit of wheel spin. This car will light up its front end if you are heavy on the gas initially. You can get all-wheel drive, which will rectify that. But when it all gets going, this car should get to 60 in around 6 seconds, which is a little bit quicker than the old one, maybe like a half second quicker. It's a pretty quick car. I mean, honestly, it's enough power for most people. I would prefer the grip of the all-wheel drive that you can get, but that adds like $2,000 to the price. Now, the steering is another area where Buick really improved for this new Lacrosse. You wouldn't expect a vehicle like this to be sporty at all, and let's be honest, there are sportier full-size offering. Go to a Nissan Maxima if you're looking for that. But this is not bad. It's a little bit sportier to me than the last Avalon or Azera or Cadenza that I drove. The steering is relatively quick to react. It is numb in its feel, but the chassis, it feels like it's really willing to play. I mean, this is an all-new platform. I can feel it. It's nice and stiff. The suspension soaks up bumps really well, and surprisingly for a full-size sedan, it wants to play. This chassis could definitely handle more power. Hopefully Buick will consider offering that with like a high-performance model. There's been rumors of them going back to that kind of marketplace with a high-performance model, but I mean, in terms of just a cruiser, if you're just going to drive this thing normally, I'll take it out of its sport setting here. The interior is so quiet thanks to Buick's quiet tuning. The chassis, there's no road noise, very little engine noise aside from that nice muted growl, no wind noise. The heated steering wheel is nice. I'm literally sitting here getting a massage from this driver's seat, which is fantastic. And it's just a really impressive car. This is probably one of the first Buicks that I've driven that actually does start to approach luxury car levels. And really where I feel that it kind of falls on its face a little bit is in some of the details with the interior. I kind of would like to see them differentiate themselves a little bit more from Chevys, for example, and kind of head toward Cadillac, what Cadillac's been doing. And the rear end design just isn't for me. It just doesn't match the elegant looks of the front end. Now, my Tester is a top-of-the-line premium model with the driver confidence package too. So basically it has your full suite of driver assistance tech. You have active lane keeping assist, you have automatic forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, you have full speed range, adaptive cruise control, and it's just a really great system. It all works so cohesively together. Now this is not the Super Cruise that GM will be introducing on Cadillac in the next couple of years, but until then, I think that it's a really great feature to have, especially for, you know, the typical buyers that go for this. It makes this a much more easier car to drive on a longer distance. Now, coming to my conclusion for this review, I want to talk about a couple of numbers here. Now, fuel economy, GM really improved for this new Lacrosse. It's now rated at 21 in the city, 31 on the highway. Now, honestly, if you drive much more considerably, you'll probably get to those targets. I've been averaging about 20 miles per gallon in mostly city driving, which again, that's not bad for this big sedan, but a little bit lower than the EPA numbers. Now, I did take it on a little bit of a longer trip on the highway where I got about 29 miles per gallon. So that is pretty good, especially considering that this is a full-size sedan with a V6 engine. Although it is a lot lighter, I mean, 3,600 pounds, that's incredible for a vehicle that's this large. Now, regarding the price of this all-new Lacrosse, you'd expect it to be a little bit more. I mean, it comes with a lot of features as standard, and it's about $1,000 more than the 2016 model if you compare them on a base level. This now starts at around just over $32,000, add $995 or something for destination. Now, that makes it significantly cheaper than this car's main competitor, the Lexus ES350, or if you even compare it to a Lincoln MKZ, it's about $3,000 cheaper than the Lincoln, about $7,000 cheaper than the Lexus. Now, if you start comparing it to a Kia Cadenza, a Toyota Avalon, or a Nissan Maxima, they all start around the low $30,000 range. So this is basically where Buick has priced it, even though it kind of is more of the Lexus in terms of the features and the luxury in here, even though Buick doesn't really have the, you know, the prestige that Lexus may offer you, the snobbery, if I do say. Now, my Tester, being the premium model, starts at $41,000, just over $41,000. Add $1,700 for the driver confidence package 2 that my Tester has, which is the adaptive cruise basically, and the automatic parallel parking and perpendicular parking. $1,500 for the sunroof, $1,600 for the 20-inch wheels, $1,100 for navigation and Bose audio, and about $600 for the color that this is, the boring silver. I would probably skip this color. All in, my Tester is a rather shocking $48,400, which is definitely a lot of money. If you wanted to get all-wheel drive, this car will top $50,000, which to me is ridiculous. I would not spend this much for a full-size sedan. However, if you look at you know, a comparable, like if you wanted to compare this to like a Mercedes-Benz S-Class or something, which is definitely more prestigious, a little bit more room, this is about half the price of an S-Class to start. But again, you're not going to get the snobbery, you're not going to get the luxurious appointments. It's really going to come down to, if you really like full-size sedans, you want a little bit of luxury with it, you want all this space, it's a really great highway car, the Lacrosse is definitely worth a look. Just keep in mind that, you know, there are sportier offerings that may be more cramped, but this is definitely one of the most well-rounded full-size sedans I've tested, so I definitely think it's worth a look if you guys are shopping in this segment. But anyways, if you guys are looking to see all the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and if you haven't done so, guys, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel so you can keep up to date with all the latest videos we're putting out. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.